Hey guys, Mighty Gazelle here. About the other week when I made a video, one of you guys actually commented a suggestion that I actually really liked. Thank you to, and I'm sorry if I butcher this, Ichiban Oni-chan for suggesting this to me. Basically what he said was, while we're waiting for the new Samurai Jacks, it'd be really cool if you reviewed the old episodes. And I thought that was a great idea because if we're all going to review and talk about the latest and last episode of the show that we all love, it only makes sense that we go back to the past and discuss what made the show so great to begin with. Because really, the old show is still phenomenal to this day, and I think it does deserve some time to be talked about during its conclusion to its series. So this is a very casual video. I'm going to go through all the episodes because I rewatched them recently. Last time I watched them was about a year ago when they announced the series, and I went back and watched the first series again the other day to kind of refresh myself and talk about these episodes a little bit. Two things I want to mention. The old show is, each episode isn't as like deep as the new show. Like the themes don't run as deep, not all the time at least. Sometimes they do. And the old show, the other thing I want to mention is the old show is not, Season 5 is, all the episodes are related. They're serialized. One episode ties to the other, ties to the other. The original series, for the most part, was not like that. They were very episodic, kind of single adventures of Jack. There are exceptions to this, as I will talk about as I go through the season as a whole. But I just want you guys to know that the old episodes, they were focused more on individual adventures of Jack and the things that he did. So, again, casual video. I just wanted to explain to you guys what was going on. But, okay. So first off, we have Season 1, Episode 1 through 3. This was the Samurai Jack premiere movie. This is... So I'm not going to go super in-depth about these because... it would take forever to go through a whole season of episodes in depth, but I'm going to generally tell you guys what to expect from the episodes and what they were about. So, the first 3 episodes of Samurai Jack were the origin stories, well, not the entire origin story, but it starts off with the first episode of, it's called Part 1, the beginning. It shows Aku being resurrected from the hibernation of sorts that he was put in by Jack's father. He was released by a solar eclipse, and it doesn't really explain why, but it seems to be some sort of magic that brings Aku back to being himself. And basically, it shows Jack as a little kid, and he's like running around, and it's feudal Japan, everyone's happy, and his dad's telling him the story about his fight against Aku. And before they know it, Aku shows up and starts terrorizing the town. In this struggle, Jack's father tells his wife to take Jack and go. This is what we planned for. We need to get out of here. So Jack's mother leaves with Jack and takes the sword as Aku is destroying their whole village and just captures Jack's dad. For the remainder of the episode, it is a beautiful sequence of events where it's not much talking, and it's just Jack going from place to place, learning various techniques and skills that he'll need to eventually face Aku. So Jack spends his whole life growing up. He goes to the monks to learn hand-to-hand combat. He goes to Egypt to learn hieroglyphics. He goes to the Greeks to learn like combat, like different sort of hand-to-hand combat. He at one point learns archery from what appears to be Robin Hood, which is kind of cool. Basically, he goes around and learns all these various skills that he's going to need to defeat Aku one day. So when he's ready, he returns to his mother, who is in probably like Alaska or Antarctica or somewhere where it's snowy, maybe the Himalayas. And she's like, obviously they're happy to see each other, and she gifts him the sword because he's finally ready. So Jack returns home and sees that his people are being enslaved by Aku. They're making him build effigies in his image. And he finds his father, who's all like malnourished and basically nearly worked to death in these mines that Aku's having them all work in. And he gives Jack some words of advice, and Jack goes to fight Aku. Now, this is a very intense fight. It's very beautifully done. I encourage you guys to watch this episode. I want to go in more depth about it, but I wouldn't have time. This video would be so long. Basically, he fights Aku and nearly wins, but right before Aku is defeated, Jack's like, "There's no future for you, Aku." And Aku's like, "I disagree," and sends him to the future, where his evil is law, as the title, as the intro to the show states. And that's where the first episode basically ends, and the second one starts with Jack appearing in the future. Now, the funny thing about Jack is his voice, or his name isn't actually Jack. Jack is the name given to him by the first three people that actually see him in the future. Like, "Yo, Jack, what's up, man?" Like, Jack is like a slang term similar to bro or guy, whatever. So the name just sticks with him, and that's how he gets the name Samurai Jack. It's kind of funny. Maybe we'll find out what his actual name is in the rest of the season 5. I don't know. Basically, so the part 2 is called The Samurai Called Jack. Basically, he gets caught in a nightclub kind of fight in a really cool scene where he apologizes for like staring at this alien funny because he's an alien, and they get into a really cool fight. And in the bar, he runs into these humanoid dogs. They're a very peaceful archaeologist type of dogs, and they say, "Hey, would you like to help us, because we're having some problems with Aku in our adventure over here that we're trying to discover various things about our past." And that episode ends with him going to help the dogs in their basically they're trying to discover their own sort of past by digging up these ruins, but Aku's making them dig for various minerals that he wants. So during this time, right before part 3 starts, maybe it's as part 3 starts, Aku sees that Jack's in the future, and he's like, "Oh, well, it's been a long time, hasn't it? Let me welcome you to the future." So he sends his giant beetle army to attack Jack and the dogs that he's trying to help. Basically, what was I going to say? Jack is helping to protect... he's trying to help liberate these dogs who are being worked to death for Aku. And they see this giant army approaching of beetles. And Jack proceeds to help fortify the defenses. And then he, in a really epic and amazing scene, Jack proceeds to wipe the floor with all of the droids. He uses various things like handmade spears. He uses arrows. And he uses the dog's equipment that they've been mining with to sort of fight off all these enemies and make traps for them. And it's just, I don't have time to describe the whole fight, but I highly suggest you look at that. That's part 3, the first fight. The battle's epic. He ends up with like drenched in like droid oil and stuff, and it's pretty amazing. So that ends the first opening movie for the series. The next episode is Jack and the Woolies and the Critcholites. It's an okay episode. It's nothing terribly special. Jack frees the Woolies that we see in Season 5 from the tyranny of these little alien people that are using them for their own amusement and kind of as slaves. It's a fine episode. It ends with the Jack obviously freeing the Woolies and the elder Woolie telling Jack that there is something that he seeks. If you go north, you'll be able to find what may help you on your journey. Episode 5, Jack in Space. So along the way to find what this elder was talking about, Jack runs into these scientists that are looking to escape Earth. Basically, the scientists were put to work to build various things for Aku, and they're tired of it, and they want to leave to go to a different planet and make a better life for themselves. Not a lot to say about that episode. It's honestly probably the weakest of the episodes in this season. Every episode in Samurai Jack has very high quality to it, but I'd say throughout the whole series, there's only like 4 episodes that I generally think are just meh. But other than that, I think they're all fantastic. This is one of the 4 that I think is kind of like meh. So if you want to skip this one, it's really not a big deal. The next episode, Jack finally arrives at the place that he was told to go to. This episode is episode 6, Jack and the Warrior Woman. Basically, Jack goes to this shop and he talks to the woman that the woolly guy told him to go to. and he says, "Hey, I'm looking for this item. Can you help me find what is it?" And she leads him to this crystal that gives them images of what he's looking for. And basically, what it says is you're looking for this gem that has the power to grant a pure-hearted person's wishes. And just before he's able to set off, he runs into a mysterious green woman who initially seems to not very interested in Jack, but then they join up together because they have similar interests to find this crystal, and they go through various little adventures along the way. And in a twist of fate, when they reach the goal that they're trying to get to, Jack actually discovers that this green woman is Aku in disguise, which is kind of crazy. I mean, looking back now, it's like everyone knows that the twist is coming, but if you hadn't seen it before, it was pretty cool. Like, oh my god! I mean, you can kind of tell. I mean, the same color scheme as Aku and whatnot, and she seemed kind of evil, but not like super evil. That's a pretty good episode. That was Jack and the Warrior Woman. Episode 7, Jack and the Three Blind Archers. This is a fantastic episode. I cannot highly recommend this one enough. So, I mentioned this before, but if I were to get most people, if I were to get them into Samurai Jack, and I told them one episode to kind of pique their interest, I would tell them to watch Jack and these Three Blind Archers. The reason I would tell them to watch is because it perfectly encompasses what Samurai Jack is. Jack basically hears about the story of these he hears about this fountain that is able to grant your wishes, and this old warrior is telling him the story of how his army was decimated trying to do this, trying to reach this well. And Jack says, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. And the guy calls him crazy, and he says, well, there's no other way home for me, so I'm going to go try this and see what happens. So basically Jack gets there, and he quickly discovers that the well is being guarded by these three archers. The reason I would suggest this episode for people, and the reason I think it encompasses what Samurai Jack is whenever I think of Samurai Jack, the first thing I think of isn't the combat, it isn't the character itself, it's just the long walks with Jack through nature. And it's just something about that, it's so iconic to me. There's this scene where he's just walking through the snow forest and there's nothing but just occasional bird chirping and the river flowing. And something about that to me, it just screams Samurai Jack. And not to mention, this episode does a great job of showing Jack's progression. He quickly discovers that the archers have a keen sense of sound. They're not visual based, because he drops his hat and they all shoot the hat, but he like waves it and they don't shoot it, and various other things. I'm not trying to butcher this episode because I want you guys to see it yourselves. But basically, he goes and meditates and reflects upon his training with the monks that let him hone in on his hearing and cancel out all vision. And that helped him fight these archers, and he eventually frees the archers and sets them away from this curse that they have at the own fault of getting rid of the well so he can't use it himself, which is a selfless act, but the well basically tricks people who try to use it. So again, that was Jack and the Three Blind Archers. Fantastic episode. You cannot recommend it enough. Okay, here's another great one. You're gonna hear that a lot. Episode 8 is Jack versus Mad Jack. So one of the most amusing scenes to me, this episode starts with these people just hanging out at a bar or whatever, this restaurant, and like doing various gambling stuff. And this big monkey chick, like with a mace, starts swinging her thing around as she's playing the song in the jukebox. And it's just this goofy song. And Jack comes in, and everyone just immediately stares at him because they like, oh, this is that guy that's got this huge bounty on him. And he slowly sits down with some nice tea, and they all show up and says, we got 2 Googleplex on your head or whatever. And Jack's like, can I just enjoy my tea, please? And they like, no way. And then he proceeds to beat them up because they attack him. And for a little while after that, people keep constantly appearing and trying to take him down. And Jack's getting irritated of it. He's actually getting very angry about it. And eventually, Aku sees this and says, it seems like no one can beat his fighting style. No one can beat his fighting style. And then he proceeds to make a evil version of Jack using magic. it's the embodiment of Jack's anger. It's kind of manifested using Aku's magic, and they proceed to fight each other. And they're evenly matched, and their sparks of their blades start to light the fire up around the field of trees that are around them. And basically, during the fight, Jack's like, "Hey, wait a minute, this isn't right. I should not be so angry with myself. I need to find my inner peace." And he calms down, and the Mad Jack is like, "What are you doing? Aren't you gonna fight me?" And he's like, "No, I'm not gonna fight you." And Mad Jack goes to slash at him, and then since Jack is refusing to fight back, Mad Jack collapses. His entire essence of anger is dissipated, and yeah, Jack walks away. One of the best scenes ever. He's like, he puts his sword away, and he looks up, and he's like, "I know you're watching me," and he says, "These tricks are starting to annoy me." And it's just like, I love that. Very cool. Very Samurai Jack. Episode 9, it's an okay episode. I'll talk about it because it's part of the season. Season 1, episode 9, Jack Under the Sea. Jack hears about a underwater ancient time portal, and he proceeds to try to find this village underwater that contains it. And it's these underwater sea people, and they basically tell him like, "Yeah, we have it, blah blah blah," and they let him eat their food and stuff like that. But really, they were trying to trap him for Aku, because they want to give him out to Aku so they can have life on land again. But when Aku says, "No, we're not going to give you life back on land again," basically double crosses the people that trapped Jack for them. Jack proceeds to fight off Aku and saves the people, and they felt really bad and that they betrayed him, because they're actually kind of good people. And he basically goes on his way, but they give him food for the travels, and it's a fine episode. Nothing too crazy going on there. Episode 10, Jack and the Lava Monster. Jack hears these he hears these voices, or this voice calling him towards something, and Jack proceeds to follow. It leads him to a volcano, where he goes inside, and he's still following this voice. And before he can say like, "Hey, maybe this isn't a good idea," various traps in the volcano start to like propel him forward against his will, and he eventually meets this giant lava monster. And this lava monster proceeds to fight him, and Jack says, "Why are you fighting me?" And the lava monster proceeds to tell him his story of how Aku actually cursed him with this rock form and immortality. Basically, he was a Viking warrior who fell in battle, and as Vikings do, they want to die in battle, but he was dishonored this right by being cursed by Aku, so he's forced to live in eternity, and hopefully someone can beat him in battle so he can go to Valhalla and live in peace. But he has to die in an honorable battle, so Jack has to actually fight him like a true warrior and actually fight him. And Jack proceeds to win. He actually kills the warrior, or the rock version of him. The guy gets turned back to normal, and he proceeds to age very rapidly due to how long he's been alive. And these gods from Valhalla come and lift him up and carry him to the sky, and it's a really beautiful and very sad scene. That's Jack and the Lava Monster. That's a very good episode. I think you guys should check it out. Next, it's an episode that needs no introduction. It's one of the most famous episodes of all Samurai Jack. Season 1, Episode 11, Jack and the Scotsman. The Scotsman is probably the greatest, if not the only, recurring character that we have throughout the entire series of Samurai Jack. So, the episode starts with Jack on his journey, as normal, and he comes across a great bridge. A bridge that it's so long you can't even see the end of it because it's shrouded in mist. And he proceeds to go along this bridge. He's traveling on it for a day or two, and I apologize if you can hear the train in the background. It's not like next to me, but it's like a block over, but it's a pretty loud train anyway. So he proceeds to go along this bridge, and about halfway, he starts hearing this bagpipe. And it's starting to get louder and louder, and it's like, oh my god, what is that? And in the distance, you see the big brute force that is the Scotsman playing his bagpipes. And a little bit about the Scotsman. He is a perfect opposite of Jack. Other than them being both great warriors, they have nothing in common. Jack is quiet, stoic, and respectful of others. The Scotsman is loud, brash, and insults everyone crazily. His insults his insult that he says to Jack, I think it's like 20 seconds long. It is a ridiculously sounding insult, but is amazing. It's one of the most famous moments in Samurai Jack. Proceeds to insult Jack, and they get into a fight that actually lasts for a day. They're fighting each other with a sword on this little tiny bridge that lasts for a day because they refuse to not walk past each other, because none of them wants to go the other way back. And right before they start fighting again, the bounty hunters that are after them, they basically come after them, and they get chained together because this guy fires a chain that puts both Jack and the Scotsman hand locked together. And they proceed to fall down into this valley down below. And they have to use teamwork to fight these people and set themselves free. And in the process, they become great friends. And it is a truly joyful episode to watch. Honestly, it's pretty great. I don't want to say anything more because I think you guys should just check it out yourselves. Season 1, Episode 12, Jack and the Gangsters. Jack runs into these Chicago sort of gangsters who... basically, they're not really good people, but they tell Jack that he can meet Aku if he helps them. So he proceeds to help them do these various heists, and they tell Jack that in order to meet Aku, they have to get this diamond, or this ruby of some kind. And so this ruby has the unique ability to control all water on the planet, because it's as a spirit, this nature spirit that controls it. Now, Aku can't seem to get his hand on it because apparently the spirit is strong enough to defend itself, which is kind of interesting. But Jack fights the spirit, as well, the different elements that are protecting it, and gets the ruby for Aku, which is kind of funny. And they meet up with Aku to deliver it to him. And Jack comes out and they start to fight, and the mobsters are like, "Whoa, what are you doing fighting our boss?" And they're like, "We gotta save him, otherwise, we gotta save Jack, because otherwise Jack might get hurt." And it's really funny because Jack's actually about to kill Aku, which is weird because he actually beats him in this fight, and the mobsters knock him out and take him away, saving Aku's life. And Jack is like, "Well, you guys should not have done that." And it's a pretty good episode. It's decent. Not one of the best of the season, but it's all right. Last episode of season 1, episode 13, Aku's Fairy Tales. This is, up to this point, we've never really had an episode that's Aku-centric, and the thing you need to know about Aku is he is evil. He is ruthless, and at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is him controlling the planet. That being said, there is a side to Aku that fans know very well, and at its core, he is evil, but on his outer self, he's a little bit egotistical. He wants people to like him, which is kind of funny. He wants them to be, respectfully be afraid of him. So he sees these kids that are playing Jack versus Aku. It's like a game that kids play, and this poor little kid is forced to be Aku, and everyone else wants to be Jack because Jack's the cool guy. He's the hero. All the kids are looking up to him, and Aku says, "No, I can't have this. I can't have the kids looking up to this guy who I hate with a passion and want to die." So he invites all the kids into this big auditorium where there's projections of puppies and kittens and stuff, because Aku thinks that's what the kids like. This episode's ridiculous. And he proceeds to tell them a story. He thinks kids like stories, and they do. He uses various cultural stories to tell him in a better light, and Jack is the evil guy. He goes Little Red Riding Hood, where Aku is the nice, peaceful little Red Riding Hood girl, and Jack is the evil sort of wolf. There's another one where it's the 3 bears and the porridge or whatever, and they show Jack as the guy who barges in and eats all the porridge, and basically he has all these stories that try to portray Jack in a bad light. And it's funny because the art styles change from story to story that he tells, and all of them are just Aku spewing out nonsense about Jack, and he's trying to convince the kids. And in the end, Aku gets really frustrated because he can't convince the kids, and he's like, "Okay, Jack's evil, bye," and he leaves. And all the kids proceed to tell their story of how it actually goes, and it ends because it ends in a funny way. The kids are dubbing what Jack is saying. They show Jack talking a deep battle with Aku, and this really nerdy kid's voicing over Jack, and it's just a really amusing episode. But yeah, that is season 1 of Samurai Jack. Again, casual video. I thought you guys would enjoy it. Again, I want to thank the person that I mentioned before. That was a really good suggestion. I like the idea of going back to the past of Samurai Jack and discussing what made the show so great so we can appreciate the finale that we are about to see. I'll be doing this every week, so this one came before episode 7. Season 2 review will come before episode 8, 3 before episode 9, and the last season of the original series will come before episode 10. That way it's going to wrap up really nicely, and yeah. God, I've been talking forever about this. Yeah, I can't believe, if any of you have actually watched this far, thank you, first of all. It's a long-ass, boring video of a guy talking about a show that ended 12 years ago. But, hope you guys enjoyed it. If 10 of you enjoyed it, you know what, that's a win for me. I always have some free time at the end of the day, so I like to make these kind of videos. Yeah, stay tuned for more live reactions to Samurai Jack, as well as other content that I'm going to be making related to Samurai Jack and this grand finale that we have before us. Should be a lot of fun, and I hope you guys join me along the way. Until next time, this has been Mighty Gazelle, and I hope you all have a mighty day. See you guys.